Good afternoon, everybody. We want to welcome you to the Virtual Summer Institute, and we are excited to have you this afternoon for taking Canvas to the next level with Gina Pavlovich and also Erin Wood, our Google guru, who has been leading some fantastic sessions throughout our Virtual Summer Institute as well. All right, so my name is Bethany Fillers. I'll be your session host. And I'm here to support the presenters as well as offer technical assistance to you, our participants. So feel free to reach out in the chat if you need any support. And at this time, I will hand it over to Gina to kick us off. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I'm glad to have all of you guys with us here this afternoon. And like we were just saying a few minutes ago, this is the last day. I can't believe that. This has gone by really fast. Today we're going to be talking about doing some things within Canvas that I kind of feel like is the next level. Some of you guys may be saying, come on, Gina, I've been doing that for the last 2 years. But there's a few things that I want to stress as we're starting this. One, and John put in the chat, a direct link to our session materials. You're going to see this presentation there. You're also going to see Erin's part of the presentation there, and then you will also see a link to the remote learning website that I've created, which I also have a link here. So if you have the Google Slides up, you can click right there. As you can see from this link, this is going to feel like a roller coaster. Like I'm going to go through and I'm going to click here and here and I'm going to say, this is really cool, you should do this and blah, blah, blah. And then Erin's going to come on and he's going to do the same. But really, we only have an hour to show you this stuff. And I'm sure that Erin could talk easily for a full hour to help you to integrate Google Docs. And I could definitely talk for well over an hour to just help you with kind of tips and tricks on making your course a little bit better, a little easier to navigate for students and things like that. But since we just have an hour, you're going to feel like, I know you're going to be thinking in your head, come on, Gina, slow down, you're killing me. But what I want to stress is that everything that I'm about to show you, you can find on our remote learning website, and I have it pulled up right here. I am already on the Canvas Advanced page. And but what you will see is as you scroll down through here, things that I'm going to talk about, you're going to, after we have this session, you're going to be able to come on here and click and find videos that range from just 2 minutes up to 10 minutes. I don't usually go over 10 minutes unless I have to, but just some kind of short videos to help you. So if I do say something, like if I'm talking about how to change the layout of your page by using the code, and you're thinking, I want to try that, then you're going to be able to come back here at a later date and find some short little videos of me just doing this, just saying, click here, type in this, click save, and things like that. So really, while I'm talking right now, instead of kind of stressing and thinking that you should be following along with me in your own Canvas or anything like that, I just want you to kind of just sit back and watch and think about your own course and think about how things that I'm going over and things that Erin is going to go over, how can that help you? How can that help your students as they're navigating through your course? And just, maybe also think about questions. If you have any questions while I'm talking, please add those to just fill out, hit chat and ask it in the chat box. And in this session, especially, in some of my other sessions, if you were with me, we kind of went right up to the last minute and I said, email me if I can help, which you guys have been doing. And thank you. I love that. You're giving me ideas for new videos to create and everything. But in this one, I do want to end, Erin and we're going to end, I hope, with about 10 minutes left over. So you guys can just start talking to me. I feel like we're on all different levels here. You guys are you've been in Canvas for a while now, but we're probably on a lot of different levels. And so I just wanted to make sure that we had that time to talk right at the very end. And Bethany, if you'll help me keep an eye on on the time, I would greatly appreciate that also. But one other thing I did want to show you about this website is that all of the webinars that I've done throughout the week are here. And so if you've been with me previously, you already know about this website. But if not, I do want you to know that there's a whole lot of resources on here. Like this Canvas Basics one is one that I've been adding to the most, because teachers who were in that webinar with me, they would email me later on and they'd say, Gina, what about this? How do I do this? And I'd say, that's a great question. I'm sure others have it. And so I would make a short video on how can you do this, or how can you embed a video here, or how can I use YouTube even though my school system blocks YouTube videos. So feel free to check out all of these links here to help give you ideas for free programs you can use for doing things within within Canvas. And then also I did a webinar on just pedagogy and classroom management in the online environment, which I think is a really big deal. And it's such a big deal in my head that it's one of the first things I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes. I just want to run through it with you guys quickly, just so it's there in the back of your mind. And I also want to give you a resource that you can have to help you when you're thinking about kind of creating rules or just kind of the norms within your online course. I'm going to go through this one briefly. Some of you may have seen this before, but I have to stress with everybody that I talk to that what you're doing right now and what you're creating is something that is going to be a great tool for you in your classroom. Whether COVID-19 ever happened or not, this is going to be just an amazing thing to help you kind of better meet the needs of your students. And so I want to make sure that, and just stress that what we're doing, this is not something that we're going to use this fall. And then once there's a vaccine or once there's a cure or whatever, you know, I'm praying for all of the above. Once that is out there and everything is kind of back to normal, you're not just going to trash this. You're not all of these hours that you're putting into this Canvas course, they're not going to be lost, because there's going to be so many great ways you can still use it within your classroom, even when your students are there with you all the time, face to face. I put a couple of some 4 bullets here that is really kind of my foundation for why I started bringing into my classroom like an online environment. The first one is I love putting sub plans within my online course, because then if my son wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning with 102-degree fever, I don't have to the next morning at 6 a.m. call my best friend who teaches across the hall and say, will you please go in early and make copies for me, or anything like that. All I have to do is, give the information to the sub that says, tell the students to log into Canvas and to go to the module that says this. And so it just makes things easier for us as teachers. It makes things easier for the subs and for the students. But I did say here, make sure that you introduce your online course before you ever have that first sub. You don't want that substitute teacher to be the one who is in there when they're first accessing all of this, because that would just be a terrible day for that poor sub. So just make sure you introduce that early. As most of you know, I'm sure this is such a great place to personalize learning. You can put various different assignments or enrichment opportunities for all levels of learning on your within your Canvas course, and then you can even assign certain students to only do certain whatever you want them to do, and so it just makes it very easy to kind of personalize learning. I loved using it to kind of help split my kids into groups. I'm a high school social studies teacher, so teaching 30 to 35 kids is kind of the norm in my classroom. And we all know that me really getting good feedback and really being able to understand what are these kids getting and what are they not getting. It's really hard to do when I'm standing up in front of all 30 kids. And so I would use this usually around once a week in my class, just so I could split them up. And I'd have some kids working online doing something. I would have some kids working from the textbook. And then I would have, 10 kids in front of me. And so I was able to cut that group down into just 10 kids and really talk to them in as close to a one-on-one environment as I could. And then you just rotate the kids around. And so that was always such a great way for me to use online resources within my classroom. And it was so I could really get to face with all of those kids. And then finally, something that the whole world is learning, which is that, online is never going to replace our teachers. I'm the director of Niswonger Online for the Niswonger Foundation. So I direct a fully online program, but I would never tell anyone that online learning is the best place for all of our students, because it's not, and we all know that. But it is a great place to supplement the teaching that we're doing in the classroom. And it's also, if there's no other option, then it's definitely a better option than the kids not learning and not moving forward. So I just kind of noted there that this, getting your information on your Canvas site, getting it organized, creating an engaging, inviting environment, it's just going to help you meet the needs of all of your students. And again, this fall, definitely when we've got the chaos of who's in the classroom and who's online and all that. But then whenever, for the rest of your teaching experience, I think online will be, something that we will always be integrating into our classroom. So I told you that kind of setting these rules, these norms that a lot of people call them, for your classroom is super important. And if this is something that you've not had a chance to do yet, then I really, really suggest that you sit down and you think about this and you figure something out. And this is going to be something that when you're setting the classroom rules with your students at the beginning of August, you want to also be sharing and setting your rules for online learning. And so you want it to be just the basis behind everything. If you have this presentation up, you can click on this picture and it will take you to Niswonger Online's netiquette and norms document. And netiquette is just a cute way to say online etiquette. But it is, I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's just vitally important that you do, if you haven't already, and that you just make sure that these are all things that you've thought about. And one other thing I wanted to let you know is that you can click on File and click Download a Copy, and then edit this to be something that works for you and works within your classroom. We give this to our students and also to the parents at the beginning of each semester. And I think that's a great idea, just so the parents are in on it too and they understand it. And then also you're going to be dealing with a lot of parents who aren't, this is for us in our profession, this is kind of the, I know all of this, we know it because we've been through it, we've done it. But for a lot of our parents, this is, these are new. This could be something that's new, something they've never thought of before. So it's good to share it with them also, especially this last part that talks about plagiarism and academic integrity. But again, I wanted to give you this resource just to make sure it's something that you're thinking about and something that you, again, when you're going through your everyday classroom rules on that first day of school, sometime within that first week, you want to be introducing them to your online environment, and then you want to be introducing them to all of these, your rules, your regulations, and your school will probably have a lot of these already put together for you, and you'll want to make sure you're following that. But then you may, again, just want to have something that helps explain things a little bit more to your students, because this is going to be new to a lot of them. So please check that one out. And now I just want to go through, and like I said a few minutes ago, I'm just going to start clicking. and I'm going to start showing you things. And these are all things that I kind of came across a little bit after creating my first fully online course. So, I felt like I kind of had the basics down. I know how to make an information page. I know how to create a quiz. I know how to do an online discussion. I can do all of those things, but now I just kind of wanted to take what I had and either make it look a little better, make it flow for the students a little better, maybe be more creative in how I ask the students to submit things, and just various things like that. So I'm going to go through these again very quickly, and I apologize, but I do want to stress again that everything I'm getting ready to tell you, by tomorrow, you're going to be able to find a video for it on this web page right here. And you will, I've already done a couple of videos, and the last one I did was 2 minutes, but it was more than enough time to show what you needed. But let's go ahead, and the first thing I want to show you, and I chose this one as my top thing, is because when I talk to teachers who are creating an online environment, I tell them the first thing you need is a screen recording program like Loom or Screencast-O-Matic. Those are two that I've used a lot. Those are two that are both free. And when I say a screencast program, what I'm talking about is something like this. This is Screencast-O-Matic. And you can I pull it up, I press record, and then as I'm talking, it is recording my voice, and also hey everybody, it's Gina here. It's recording what I'm clicking on the website. And for me, I use it to send videos to my administrators, to my students, to my teachers when I'm trying to show them how to do things. It's such a lifesaver in the online environment, because we've all stood up in front of our class and said, okay guys, go here, and in the top right of that website, you're going to click log in, and then you're going to click here, and we've all done that. And then the next thing that we've had to do is go through and individually say that again like 10 more times to 10 different students. And so when you have a screencast program like that, it really helps. It really cuts down on all of that, because then the kids, when they pull it up in your Canvas class, you can have the video embedded there for them to see. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment. But what I'm talking about here is, if you don't have that, there is a media icon within Canvas that I love. This here is an example of a way in which I've used it, and once a week, this video, at least once a week, this video changes for my students. And it's just me usually just saying, hey, how was last week? What can I help with? Or talking about if I just graded a bunch of work and maybe I saw something on a project and I wanted to talk to them more about that, then I can do that here. And you don't have to have any kind of outside program to do that. And one thing, so earlier I talked about sub plans. I think this is such an amazing tool to use when you do have a sub coming in, and then you're going to send your students to your Canvas account, because it's going to give them your face. So it's like, oh, hey, there's Miss P, and you're going to be able to explain to them, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm out. Yeah, I'm not feeling well. My son's not feeling, just, say, sorry, I can't be there today, but I've got this great activity planned for you. Go click on modules and just explain. And again, just 2 minutes, a short little 2-minute video. And it really helps the students. I'm going to go here. Actually, I'm not going to go in this class because this is my active class, and my kids will be like, Miss P, what are you doing if I start messing with it? Let's do with this one. This is one from last fall. I'm going to click on Edit. And one thing, and I'm sure this has happened with all of you, is when we started creating our courses and doing all of this work, we tried to work with some of these icons, and maybe we had friends who were like, oh, hey, you should do this or you should do that. But overall, just being able to take the time to sit down and just click on each of these icons and be like, hey, what's this? Or what's this? You might not have had the chance to do. So I wanted to show you this one, and it's the record or upload media icon. And let me put my cursor somewhere good on this. Okay, that one's perfect. So when you click this, what happens is it pulls up a box. And the first thing you're going to see is yourself. And what you do is you just hit start recording. And when you do, it's going to start recording you and anything that you need to say, any kind of message that you want to send out to your students. So if you're sending out that kind of sub information, then you can say it here. Now, let's say it is you that woke up with 103 temperature and you're not feeling like putting on some makeup. You can do it with no video, and it will just record your voice. And again, you just hit start recording, and it's now recording my voice. You could talk for a minute or you could talk for 5 minutes, but either way, it's going to record it. When you're done, you click finish, and you just give it a name, and you hit save. And depending on the length of the recording, it will then pop up, and then you can hit save here, and you can see what your students are going to see. And then you can move it also. So that looks kind of funky, right? I would go back in and I would move that a little bit and kind of line it up to a new place. But, and it's now recording my voice. So there's that media recording. And here's the great thing about this. It's not just, you don't just see that icon here. You see that icon everywhere. So you could do a video recording of yourself before a test. And, you know, maybe you want to give your students information about the test, or maybe you want to do a quick review, you know, a little 10-minute review before the test. You can do that. And all you have to do is anytime it pulls up this kind of edit page, you just look for that icon. And like I said, I use it all the time because it's so easy, and it's much easier than me writing it out or trying to send an email or anything like that. And then the last thing I want to show you, when that pertains to that media icon, is I'm going to go in and go into the course like I'm a student. And that icon will show up for students. So you could create a discussion and ask your students, instead of typing, ask them to do a recording. So here's that same icon. And again, they can do just their voice, or they can do a video and their voice. I say this all the time, but I don't know about you guys, but every kid I know wants to be a YouTuber. And so when you turn a project into something where instead of them just typing out sentences, and this is not just for projects, this is just even for just little everyday assignments, when you turn it into something where they can just kind of openly speak about, you know, answering questions or their thoughts on something, they really love it. And they really become a lot more involved in the work when you do that. And again, that was, I clicked on a discussion. Here's me as a student submitting an assignment, and they have that same option, and it looks a little different. And actually, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. It's not showing here, but it will show out from here. You have to set it, and I forgot to set it on this one, but it will show out up here, that record option. So it's such a great little, oh, here it is in text entry though. Okay, I'm glad I clicked that. There, record media. That's right. So, but you can set it within your assignment options and set it so that they can record an option too, or record some media also. So I love that. I think it's such a great thing, and it's made my life easier, and it's also made the class a little bit more fun for the students when I kind of intertwine and put that in to a few different assignments. So I'm going to get through about 2 of these before I hand it over to Erin. I just want to let you guys know that. But again, there's going to be videos. I've already said that, right? But I do want to talk about embedding your videos and using code. And one thing I've done on this website is I have linked, this is an article, and it's not an article, it's a help page for teachers at Mira Costa College, but it is really good. They have, I think it's 11 different things, and it's just tips for building and kind of redesigning your course. And I think there's 11 tips, and a bunch of those tips are on how to use code to make your pages look better, to easily embed documents or embed videos, of course, and things like that. But I highly recommend you check that out. And I stress over and over, don't be afraid to go in and play with the code. I have here an example of some ways to embed videos, which many of you may have already seen this. I have on this page an embedded YouTube video. So this is directly from YouTube. And then I have taken this same YouTube video and I've put it and recorded it with my screen recorder, with Screencast recorder. And the reason why I do that is because some of my students, even though they're fully online students with me, some of them work during the school day. They'll have like 45 minutes to an hour each day during their schedule to work from, say, the library. And if they are logged in and they click this from their school library, then most likely it's not going to link. It's not going to pull up because it is linking to a YouTube video. So what I do with those YouTube videos that I use is I turn them in, I re-record them and turn them into a screencast video. I've never, knock on wood, we work with school systems across the state, and I've never had a school system that blocks screencast videos. So I'm telling you guys this because I know a lot of you probably have to deal with the issues of YouTube, and you find a great video on YouTube, but you're worried about using it. So I want you to know that there is another option. And I've created a video, and that's one of my 2-minute videos that shows you how to do this. But what I want to talk about today is this link right here, the HTML editor. And if you click that, it's just giving you the HTML for everything that you just saw on that other page. And this is all information that you can get easily either from YouTube or from Screencast, which is what I used for that second video. There's also other videos on the web that are not YouTube in which they share the code, the embed code. And anytime you can find a video that gives that embed code, you can copy it and paste it here. On YouTube, it is, you click on share and you can, right there, you click embed and you copy and paste that. And that's all you got to do. For Screencast, if you have a Screencast account, you click on the video details. There's that share icon again, and then here is the code. So it seems, I think a lot of people see that and they may pull this up and say, I don't know anything about that. I don't know what that means. But it's not, I mean, once you get used to doing it, it's not that difficult. You'll also learn if you click on the little article from the website here, you'll learn how by just placing, for example, quotation marks in preview above some of these codes, it can help make things look better. It can help things line up better. You can also, I used to be afraid to touch anything when I copied and pasted the code. But let's say that the video came up and it was humongous and I was like, oh gosh, I don't want that. You can change, like I just changed the size of it here. And you could do the same for the YouTube video. And but anytime you copy and paste code here, you can then click back to the rich content editor and see how much smaller this video is now. It will show you everything that you want to see. And if you like it, you can click save. So again, I just showed you 2 very simple ways, and a lot of you may have already done this, but I want to stress to not be afraid to try out some code and use different ways of coding, especially when you're making information pages. That article shows you how to wrap text around pictures, and that's something, if you've ever been working in an information page, that's something that is probably you've seen is kind of hard to do. It's also, it looks one way and then you press save and it pulls up the page and it looks totally different, and that's kind of frustrating. So the article is great, and it talks about just how to add certain things to the code, and it even has a place where you can copy and paste it and just add it yourself, and it will help you when you're doing layouts for all of these top pages. So again, don't be afraid of that code. I talk about your gradebook here within the class. This is within the last couple of years, the new Canvas gradebook has been pushed out, and you may have noticed changes or not, but just one thing that has really made my life easier on the gradebook is the ability to be able to do those drop down boxes. And so, for example, I can filter by modules. And as soon as I hit that now, instead of seeing all of my modules, I can now, if we're in chapter 4, I may only want to see chapter 4. And so I can click on that, and now I only see chapter 4. And so I know, I'm going to grade this, and then I'm going to be good. The other thing I like to do to kind of clean it up for me is it is all automatically going to have that unpublished assignments checked. And when it's checked, that means it shows you all of the unpublished assignments. And if you don't want your students to see those, which I don't like for the students to see them, because it just, because once they see it, they're like, what is this? I can't access this test. And they don't get what unpublished means, And so you start getting emails, or you start getting questions like, why, what is that chapter 6? Do we have to do that? I can't access it, blah, blah, blah. So I just go in and uncheck that. And as soon as you do, all of those are gone. So they're not going to, the kids are not going to be confused as to what all of that means. Okay, so the navigation of the course, I already a minute ago showed you how to click and go to student view. I would highly recommend that. And then also think about how to navigate to make it make it easier for your students. That is something that is fairly intuitive, but also if you don't go in it from a student view, it's also you can easily overlook things. So don't be afraid to use that student view. I put here, avoid pages with just links. I had an example right here of how to link out. I just copied a picture here, and the picture is the link. In the beginning, when I was first creating courses and I was in a hurry, with a few of them and just trying to get the information on there, when you pulled up the page, it was just a link. And that of course is not fun. It's not very inviting. And so I have just gone through slowly as I've been working through the courses and just added some little pictures and things. And the kids know to click on that to get to the information that they need. And something that I just learned recently that has been amazing is, if you notice, when I clicked that, it opened it up in the same page. And so now I've got to go click the back button to go back to Canvas. I would much rather my videos and information pages, I would much rather it open up in a new page. So then the kids always have that Canvas page there with them. And I learned recently that if you hit Command K or Control K, it gives you the option. You guys may be laughing at me, this may be an old thing, but I just learned this, but it gives you an option to make it so that it opens in a new window. And then as soon as you hit save, it makes it open in a new window. So I love that, because again, I like for most things to open in a new window so students can always get back to their Canvas course easily, especially on something like that, because what happens is they're going to be now, going through multiple pages. And if they needed to just get back to their Canvas course and it opened in the same page, they may have to click the back button 10 times, you know? So having things open in a new page is just vital for me. And again, there'll be a video on this that's about a minute long, but you hit on, like on my Mac, I hit Command K. On most other computers, you hit Control K and it pulls up that nice little screen that you just saw there a moment ago. But what I want to do now is hand it over to Aaron, because I've already talked for too long. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Aaron.
Thanks. Sorry, I was setting up my slides on the other one when I was watching yours. So go ahead and switch over here. It's good to see you all, most of you all again. A lot of your names are looking familiar on there. If Gina thought that she talked fast, then I'm really sorry for you guys when I start to talk, because it's about to go crazy. But what I'm going to look at is, a lot of you guys have sat into my Google sessions about, you know, the different ways we can use Google Docs, sheets, all those types of things. What I'm going to kind of take is, I'm going to take those documents and look at how we can incorporate those into your actual Canvas course. So they've been nice enough to link these 2 slides to the VSI materials on that website that I know have been shared out before. On there, there's instructions for what I'm gonna do, and there's also videos of me doing that as a GIF in there of how to click through that. They're a little small, but like it's been mentioned before, there's gonna be a recording of this popped up as well onto there. But the best way to kind of show you this is to kind of just start to go through it. So a little bit about me. I'm an assistant principal at Fairmont Elementary. So I used to be at the high school as a biology and chemistry teacher, then went into the testing coordinator role there and kind of really and then now I'm pre-K through 4th grade. So I've kind of looked at this from all different ways. So I'm gonna try to approach that in some of those different aspects. But what I have here is, I have just a blank course that I've created for myself. we call it a sandbox course. So for that sandbox course, this is kind of where I practice everything. So, you know, one of the quotes I always heard growing up was from Allen Iverson, where he said, practice. Why are we talking about practice when he needs to play games? So that's kind of what I named this course after. So when you're in there, we all have a lot of things in our Google Drives that we want to incorporate into our actual Canvas courses, so our students can use those, access those, and go through that. And I'm going to talk about some of the 3 biggest ways that you can incorporate those materials into your courses. So first and foremost, if you don't use modules, I would highly, 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 highly recommend that you use modules. I know we've hit on that before, but modules is just kind of keeping everything in one contained unit, because right in here, as you notice, I built out my test administrator training in Canvas. But if I click underneath assignments, there's not going to be any organization to this at all. It's just going to have absolutely everything that I've ever created on there with no organization whatsoever. You don't want to do that to your staff and to your students especially. I know, Ms. Dunn, you sent a chat out about 2nd grade students. If you give 2nd grade students a list of this, they're just going to start clicking on everything. So the best thing to do is to use those modules. Now, let's say that I have a file that I just want them to have a static link to. So I just want them to be able to access it. I want them to be able to look at it, but I don't want them to be able to make a copy of it or any stuff like that. What I can do is, under this module that I've created, this Practice VSI module for the Summer Institute, that little plus sign is how you add anything into a course. Now, depending on your district settings, and I know most of the districts in our area have all released this for Canvas at least. Right now it's saying, would you like to add an assignment? We do, but we don't want to add a Canvas assignment. What we want to do is we want to add something from an external tool. So if you click that external tool, what pops up is this big long list of all these different things. Now, something that took me way too long to realize that I wish I would have known at the time was, usually it pops up and this thing is like this big. That's usually what the pop-up's like. I don't know why they do it like this, but if you start to scroll, you can't really see anything. Down in the bottom corner, there's a drag option, and then you can see that internal scroller. So if you don't drag that out, you can't really see that internal scroller. But I'm going to scroll down, 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 boom, Google Drive. I'm going to click that because I want to have a resource from my Google Drive. So what I'm going to do is, let's say that I'm going to go ahead and click this in here and rename this. So that way I can move it over here. I authorize that really quick. Whenever I log on from home and back to school, it kind of switches up on me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for, so this opens up everything that's in my Google Drive. I'm going to search for that Venn diagram that I just had and click submit. And I'm going to go ahead, it already does the URL, so that pulls in the URL from your Google Drive, and it automatically names it. So if you want this to be named something, so let's say you just want this to be a Venn diagram template that the students continue to be able to look at or whatnot. You can go ahead and click add that item. And then if you notice I click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to pull up a link to that file inside of your Google Drive. So that could be for anything. I would highly recommend this if you have like a doc of instructions that you want your students to use or something along those lines, or if you have a reference. What's nice is if I go here and I'm like, you know what, I really don't like this background and I'm going to change this background because I really want, you know, just a 2 Venn diagram template. So I'm going to change it to this, insert that. So now I've got a 2 Venn diagram. If I go back and I go back to where I'm going to click on this, inside of there, it changes to whatever that link is going to be. So I know that a lot of times, like we upload a file and then we want to change something. What's nice is if you link it as a Google Doc to your Drive, if you edit anything in that file, when the students access that, they're going to see the updated version. So if you have like a to-do list, or if you have, you know, assignments that they're on there, as you continue to add stuff, if you add it in as a link, that will still be live. And every time they click it, it keeps on updating and going there. And in order to do that, just to kind of go through that one more time, is under modules, you're just going to add an external tool. So you're going to add that external tool, and you're going to go to Google Drive that way. So you can add in a form, you can add in a slide, you can add in a doc, you can add in any of those things that we talked about, but they'll just be able to see that. They won't be able to actually manipulate that. So what I would like to do is show you guys how to do that instead. So if we go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and add in an assignment. So I'm going to go with a practice assignment. And inside of this assignment, what I'm going to say is I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And in here, you can kind of describe what you want. So complete this Venn diagram for biotic versus abiotic. Sorry for my bad grammar and spelling. Just work with me. I'm trying to save y'all's time. So if we have that, so you're going to compare this Venn diagram for biotic and abiotic. I don't know about you all, but if I let my students create their own Venn diagrams on a different template, it does not look right. They don't turn in the right one. They don't have enough points, all that kind of stuff. I want to really control that. So what I can do is under submission type where it says no submission, you're going to change that to an external tool. So if you click external tool, what that's going to do is you can go back in and do a Google Drive cloud assignment. So Google Drive cloud assignment, what that's going to do is when your students click this link, it's going to make a copy of that file in their Google Drive. So it's going to make a copy of that file in their Google Drive. So let's say that I want this to be that Venn diagram. So I'm going to search again in here. So I click that Venn diagram, and that's what I want them to use. So I'm going to go ahead and click select. Like Ms. Pavlovich has said before, you can do that load in a new tab if you wanted to open up in a new tab so they can have their Canvas before. So I'm going to go ahead and click that to stay consistent with what we've talked about. And then you have all of your different assignment functionality as before. I'm going to click Save and Publish. So I'm going to load this practice in a new window. Whenever I do, what it's going to do is now each student has their own copy of that template. So it's slowly loading. There we go. Students have it. So imagine you have, okay, you can compare these two things. You can do a Venn diagram. You can do, compare and contrast. If you want to do a Frayer model for new vocabulary, you can have a template set, ready to go. And the students, when they click on that, so let's say that I go in here and I'm editing all this stuff. So I'm saying, biotic is alive. Abiotic is not alive. All these different things. Oh, that's going to drive me nuts. There we go. Okay. Notice if I go back to my original Venn diagram, I can see what certain people are doing. Now, I can see this edit on here because I'm logged into the same account on both screens. If I was on a student account, they cannot edit my original file. So if you have a research paper template like we talked about for Google Docs, you can have them make a copy, and then inside of that, whenever you're inside of your Canvas, I'm going to go ahead and go to my student view really quick. So I'm going to go to student view. Oh, wait a second. I don't think I published that one. Whoops. Let me go back and change that really quick. I'll let y'all catch your breath for a second. Okay, so I go to settings. Then I go to student view. I go under modules is where that was, but I don't have that published, so I'm just going to go under assignments, which is what I told y'all not to do, so I'm sorry. Oh, that's going to drive me nuts. Give me 1 second. I've got to go back and change this really quick. But whenever you click on that, what's going to be nice is when your students go ahead and they have that ability to make that Google Doc Cloud assignment, they can submit that right in the gradebook, and you can grade it in your speed grader. So as they go through this, what you have to realize is that that cuts back on the amount of changes that they have to make. You don't have to hand out that paper Venn diagram. You don't have to go back through all that stuff in order to get that back. They can click on that, edit it, submit it, and be done with it, which is awesome. So I'm going to go back over here. And then we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So the next one is going to be for slides. So if I go here, this is my presentation from a different one. So I'm going to go ahead and have that up. So let's say that you have your students and you want them to have a copy of a presentation. So this is my Google Forms and Sheets one from earlier in the week. So if you want them to have this, there's two different ways that you can put this inside of a Canvas course. One is if you go ahead, you can add a link to that inside of your assignment. So you can go and add an assignment, external tool. Then we can go ahead and go through here, go down to Google Drive, and then we're going to look at, let's say, so go ahead and add item. And right there, what that's going to do is when I click on that, it's going to open up that slide deck as a preview inside of there. So that's how they can go through a module if you want to have a presentation in there from your slide deck. Or the other option is if you really enjoy using pages to start things off, what you can also do, and you can also do this inside of an assignment, is under your Google Slides, if you click File, Publish to Web. So if you click File and Publish to Web, what you can get is an embed code. So as we talked about that HTML editor, you can go in there. Let's say that you want this to rotate every 30 seconds. So if you want to have class announcements on your homepage that auto cycles, you can go through. You want to start it as soon as it loads, and you want it to loop. You can copy this embed code, go over here, paste that in there, and save. Oh, I got edited in the HTML part. Give me 1 second. And inside, what's going to happen is now you have a copy of your link. And the way that you set up that link is every 10 seconds or whatever your settings are, it's going to start to loop through that for your students. Give me a second. FedEx guy just came to the door, so dog's barking. Gotta love Zoom. Hotch. Go place. Go place. So with that, if you look at that, you can have that as that. Now, if I go in here and I edit this, so let's say that I want to make this the first slide instead. If you go back to your Canvas course and I refresh that page, what it's going to do is that's a static link. So it auto updates. So I know a lot of teachers use this for class assignments. A lot of schools put this on their home page for announcements for teachers. If you're talking about having a sub day and you want to have a list of the things that the students need to do, you just edit that Google link. You have a page that says sub plans, and boom, as long as they can log in, you're rocking and rolling. So with that, they can go through and they can edit it that way. But the biggest thing is that everything in Google has an HTML link. Everything has a link, every doc, every slide, every sheet, it has a website that you can go to. So if you think about it, you can add every single thing by, if you go ahead and I go into modules, and I want to go ahead and I'm going to add, instead of an assignment, I want to add an external URL, so an external link. What you can do is anything you have, you can add in there from Google because everything has a web address. So if it doesn't necessarily play the right way for you based off the original adding in a Google link or making a cloud assignment, you can go ahead and add this in as an external URL. And let's say that instead of being able to edit it, we're going to go back and, like we talked about in some other sessions, you want to change that verb. We're going to have a preview. This is your slide deck. Load it in a new tab. Click Add Item. Now, if I go ahead and I click on that to see what happens, as I go through, it's going to open that up in the same exact way with that preview already built in. You can have it as copy. You can have it as, edit or any of those things. But my biggest and strongest recommendation is to use that Google Docs cloud assignment, because what that does is if I go into my Google Drive, which I'm going to go ahead and bring over, and please forgive me for the chaos that this is with how many things I have. If I click Shared with Me, above here is whatever they click as a Google Doc Cloud assignment. So if you have them make a copy of a Venn diagram, inside of the Venn diagram, they'll have a copy of it on their drive that they can take with them. So if you have students who do not have internet access at home, if you make them have a cloud assignment, they can click that, they make a copy on there, they can edit that, work with that, and when they get back to school and their computer reconnects to internet, it can upload that updated version for you. You can also put in multiple submissions, so you can submit that paper multiple times. And what it'll do is it'll pop up in that gradebook under Speed Grader. So if I go ahead and on that Venn diagram, let's say that they went ahead and they turned that in, I can click speed grader, it pops up, and there's each of their Venn diagrams ready to go for me that I can go ahead and grade. Now, I know that I talk really fast. It's one of the bad things I do, especially when I can't read a room and see how faces are giving me the blank stare. So, like Ms. Pavlovich said, what we're going to do is for these last 5 or so minutes, if there's specific applications of what you would like for us to show you on how with Canvas you can kind of take it to that next level or incorporate Google, we'll kind of leave this time for that. You're welcome to use the chat feature to reach in those questions, or with such a small group, I think we have 26 on here last time I checked, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask that question as well, so we can do it that way at the same time. So at this point, unless Ms. Pavlovich has anything she wants to add in with that, I think that we can kind of open it up to questions, different scenarios, different things of how would this look, or how could I do this or accomplish this task within Google at the same, sorry, not Google, I'm stuck on Google, within Canvas at the same time.
I did get one question in chat that I wanted to show. This will just take a moment. I'm going to share my screen now really fast.
Go for it.
When I was showing you guys this, I told you how I made the picture a link out. And I just wanted to, the question was, how do you do that? And so I wanted to show you that in the edit page. So what I did was I uploaded the picture. I do highly recommend that you go to images and you upload all of your images, because oftentimes if you don't, it may look great for you because that image is saved on your computer, but I have had instances where I've just dragged and dropped a picture and then my students were not able to view it. So after you upload the image though, if you click on it to highlight it and then just click this link to URL, you paste the link. So that was Annenberg, right? Yeah, so I just found the link here, copied it, and then pasted it, where was I? Right here, and hit that. And then as soon as you hit save, you will get that little hand that shows you that it's a link. And so kids can access it. We also got a question that someone asked, I think about second grade, how can we make Canvas easier for second grade? And my first thought, and Aaron, you probably definitely have, you know, more things that you can say on to this, but my first thought is the same way you make it easier for seniors. You've got to have it laid out well. The kids have got to be able to navigate through it easily. And I'm with Aaron on the modules. If you saw all of my classes, the only thing that you see on the home page is me, so they can say, oh hey, there's my teacher, and some information on how to get in touch with me, and due dates, and that's really it. And those, you know, that little short video, I love that. I love Aaron's idea. I never thought of that, of kind of creating a Google slide deck to rotate through announcements. I'm going to be doing that soon, but you know, that's it. You don't want to just be copying and pasting links on the home page, because you may think, well, that's the easiest thing to do. That's the first place the kids are going to go to, but that gets messy really fast. And also if a kid wants to go back at a later date and they're, you know, it's chapter 1 and you're in chapter 3 and they need to go back to chapter 1. It's so much nicer, no matter the age, if you can give them those modules and have it divided up intuitively so they can kind of, you know, see how it works that way. What do you say, Aaron?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is for kids, especially if you're looking at second graders, when you talk about linking to an image, that could be a very, very strong way to do that, because you could just have a home page where they log in with a bunch of images similar to buttons. And then as your students log in, they could click the image of what they want to go to, and that'll take them to the next part. So if you think about using those URLs as images, if you have, you know, one for accelerated reader, if you have one for, you know, whatever, Ready Rosie or whatever application you're going to be using with those children, you can have them click on that image as a URL, and then that'll take them to where they need to go without having to go through all the assignments. And, you know, the biggest thing is for second graders is you want to limit the amount of clicks that they need to make right in the least amount of time. So if you can limit those down to one click to get them to one spot, that's your best way to go, is to get them logged in, have a home page with multiple images, and then they click that to kind of show you what's going on. to give you guys an example of what that might look like, our literacy coaches at Johnson City Schools have built a Canvas course, and that Canvas course does a very similar thing to what I feel like a second grade classroom should do. So don't judge us for treating teachers like second graders, but sometimes, let's be honest, it's probably the best thing to do. On here, what they've done is they've just made text boxes, and each one of these is a link to somewhere else in the course. So if you had a second grade student, as they logged on, let's say that they were going to do their daily spiral, they just click that, and that takes them to everything that they need to have on there. So if you look at second grade or those younger grades, having a home page that has all of those different links is probably your best bet. To follow up with one of the other questions I got in the chat of Docs versus Canvas assignments, they can both do similar functions with how you edit the assignment or edit the doc. The biggest thing that changes is if you're using Google Docs, it's live to where you can edit that right away. You don't have to re-upload anything. And then also the functionality of editing what that looks like inside of a Google Doc is much more user-friendly than it is on Canvas from my experience. So Canvas, it's really HTML based. If you know how to work with that code, you can get it to do what you want it to do. But if you're looking at dragging and dropping different assignments or images or different things like that onto an actual, assignment that you want them to see or something you want them to go through, then I would highly recommend Google Docs because of how user-friendly it is for students and also for administrators at the same time.
I agree. And I love, and he mentioned this, but when you change that Google Doc, it automatically changes within Canvas. And so I've created assignments before and maybe had a layout of a budget assignment for students and had it in Canvas. And when I said, oh, that didn't work, I want to do this instead, and I changed it in Google Docs, it immediately showed up in Canvas. And I also wanted to say one thing about, let me share my screen just 1 second. I'm so sorry. I know that it is 2 o'clock, but you guys have a whole lot of, resources with your textbooks and things. And I wanted to share this with you. This is a PowerPoint slide that came with a textbook that was, with 2 seconds, was put into a Google slide deck and then embedded the way that Aaron showed us. And again, if I change this slide, it's going to change on here. But that's one thing that I note with everybody when I am talking about creating Canvas courses is I would never put a PowerPoint document here that kids would then have to download and pull up onto their computers. Mainly because a lot of these kids are not going to have Microsoft Suite to do that on their computer. But then also it's just an accessibility thing. The more you can have something just boom there in their face without them having to do anything else, then the better it is. And with Google Docs, they just make it so easy to do with so many different types of files.
Gina, Aaron, we want to say thank you. And let's do this. Let's talk quickly about the evaluation and certificate form, and then we'll hand it back over to you all, and people can stay on and ask questions if they want to. All right. We want to thank you for coming to this session of the Virtual Summer Institute. John Payne has just dropped into the chat the link to the evaluation and certificate form. We would appreciate your feedback. We're always seeking to improve. And if you have any ideas or thoughts that you want to share with us about how to make a session like this even better for you, the participant, please share that with us. Also, if you're interested in receiving a certificate of attendance, you'll be directed in sharing your information so that we can get that to you as well. All right, join me in thanking Gina and Aaron, and we just appreciate everything they have done, not only today, but across the entire 3-week Virtual Summer Institute.
Thank you.
And again, their resources are linked in the chat, and everything they've shared is also on our Virtual Summer Institute website. All right, at this point, I will hand it back over to the group, and feel free to keep chatting any questions that you may have for Aaron or Gina.
It was great seeing all of you. Did you see where Aaron answered your question? about the wrapping your text. There's also, you can find a
Yes.
link.
Thank you.
Did you see that? Okay.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
It's so good seeing you.
You too. I've just loved it. I'm going to miss all of you.
Oh. Okay, well, if there's not any more questions, thank you guys. I'll hang out here for a minute more if anybody wants to come off mute and just talk about anything. But if not, you can go ahead, and I hope you guys have a great remainder of the week.
Thank you.
Very good.
Aaron, would you say that most school systems are able, I think you talked about it a little bit, but are they setting it up so that they can integrate Google easily into their Canvas?
Yeah, I think so. I think once the
Okay.
district level tech side understands that and they set that
Yeah.
up, I feel like most of them are letting that happen. It's just really raising awareness to the tech side that they need to.
True. Yeah, it has to be. That's one thing I can't do with Nice Longer Online because, you know, all of our kids don't have like an @JC Schools account that links them to Google, to the same
Right.
kind of Google, you know, and I can't link a million different, you know, I love balls@gmail.com accounts. So unfortunately I can't. So you were talking about changing and editing the address to like copy and stuff like that. That's the most I can do, which it works great still. So I'm thankful for that. But I would love to be able to embed things into assignments and do a little bit more like that.
I think as Chromebooks become more and more popular as we go forward, I think that you'll have a lot more capability of that because they have to be logged into that browser. And however they're logged into the browser, they have a drive that's attached to it. So
That's cool.
it's just if they have like a full scale laptop, that's where you get a lot of the issues. Or if you have like a computer lab, but if they're one-to-one with Chromebooks, they're automatically logged into a drive as backup.
That's very true. Okay.
Last call. We'll do a last call for questions.